This is a screencast to walk through the practice exercises that go with lesson 3, which was on the other screencast. So you're on the back of the green paper that you were given. Some of you may have started this already. And if you did, you can try to fast forward through the parts, but it's probably not going to hurt for you to do a little review. So we're going to use the mark strategy anytime we look at a sentence. So we start by marking off any imposters. We find a prepositional phrase. By is one of the prepositions you should have memorized by now. The next thing we do is ask ourselves if there's a verb. And since we're looking at helping verbs now, we're really looking for a verb phrase. But the entire verb phrase serves as one verb. So must have gone is a verb phrase. We look at the verb at the end to decide if it's action or linking, and gone is a form of go, and that's an action. All the other verbs that are in front of the action verb are helping it, hence the name helping. So we're going to label them HV. Now we root out the subject by searching through the sentence and asking who must have gone. Bus must have gone. So that becomes our subject. Next sentence, my best friend could not work tonight. Starting with our marks, looking for or marking out any imposters, and I don't see any. So the next thing I do is ask. Ask if there's a verb. We're looking at verb phrases, so anything that is a helping verb is on our list of verbs that we're going to memorize for our quiz on Tuesday. And we're remembering that no, not, and never are negative words that work as adverbs. Sometimes they trick us. They come in between our verb, but they're not verbs. So I see the helping verb could, would, should, and I see a verb work. I know that that's a verb. So my verb phrase is could work. The main verb is always the last one. I ask, is it action or linking? And it is action. I can work. And then that must mean that could is a helping verb. Now I root out the subject by asking who or what could work or could not work in this case, and that is friend. Be careful that you're only labeling the one word noun or pronoun that's the subject. We've got some modifiers here, but the friend is the one who could not work. Normally we would do these next 3 sharing with a partner, but I'm going to go ahead and do them for you right now with the screencast, and you can just get those done. A little extra practice. After this, you'll be left to do the last 5 on your own, and I will be taking a grade on those. The light green grapes have been eaten. So M, I mark out any imposters. I don't see any prepositional phrases. I don't see the word to with a verb for an infinitive. So now I ask if there's a verb. I see eat. Eaten is a form of the verb eat. And I see some helping verbs that are on my list that I've been studying. So now I look for my main verb, which is the last verb in the phrase. Eat is an action, so I label it AV. All the other verbs are helping verbs. One thing to note, and I saw a couple people doing this already, labeling some of these as LV, linking verbs. They'll never be linking verbs. You're never going to have a linking and an action verb in the same phrase. So either it's action or it's linking, and all the other verbs are helping. Now I'm going to root out my subject. Who or what have been eaten? The grapes have been eaten. One word that serves as the subject. The Committee of Environmentalists is working to solve the smog problem. I'm going to mark out any imposters. I know of is a preposition. If I look back at my list, of what? Of environmentalists. That's a prepositional phrase, so we're going to label it. Now I see to, which can be a preposition unless it's followed by a verb, in which case it's an infinitive. So to solve. Solve sounds like something you can do. That's an action. So I'm going to label it I for infinitive. Now I can look for my now I'm going to ask for my verbs. What's the action? And I see working here. When it has a suffix ending, that's also a good indication you're going to have some helping verbs, at least one. And I know that is, when it's with a verb, is a helping verb. I look at my last verb to decide if it's action or linking. Work is an action, so I'm going to label it AV. any verb that comes in front of it is a helping verb. Now I root out my subject. Who or what is working? The committee is working. This is a really good example of why we want to get rid of these phrases. If we didn't get rid of this phrase, it would have sounded okay to say environmentalist is working. Even though it's got that S there, it might not have made sense, but it might have sounded okay because the committee is made of environmentalists. But since this already has a job in the sentence, it's a prepositional phrase, it can't also be the subject, so that's why we ignore it. All right, our last sentence. Stephen's aunt is not following her new diet. I'm going to start by asking or marking out any imposters, and I don't see any. So now I'm going to look for a verb. Where's an action, or I could see a linking verb. I see is. Is I know can be action. I'm sorry, is can be helping or linking. So now I see, is there another verb in here? And I know follow is an action that you can do. We just talked about how not is never a verb, so I'm not going to underline that, but is following is a verb phrase. I look at my main verb, the last verb, follow, is an action verb, so the other verb must be helping verb. And then I ask myself, who is not following her new diet? Aunt is not following her diet. Don't be tricked. Just because you see a noun here, especially if it has an apostrophe S, it's never going to be the subject because it's a possessive. All right, so from this point on, you're going to do the last 5 and then turn this in for a grade.